All right, good day, everyone. Today, I am so excited to be talking about lifestyle medicine. So, giving you an introduction to lifestyle medicine and our basic human needs. And I assure you, this discussion is not about anything basic at all. What we're talking about today is foundational to attaining and maintaining really good health for you and your family. And I hope you really enjoy what we dig into today, and that it gives you some great inspiration and empowerment to make that happen with the choices that you make every single day. So I hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Family Health Revolution podcast with Coach Carla Atherton, where she discovers, uncovers, explores, and reveals the secrets to true family health and wellness.
Okay, so let's get rocking. Okay, where do I start? Okay, so introduction to lifestyle medicine and our basic human needs. Um, and so as you know, or some of you know, I wrote a book and it's called Family Health Revolution. And in that book, I discuss the science about the fundamentals of life. And at least the ones we find to be the most important in making the terrain. So that's like the terrain of our bodies and the terrain of our environments that we all live inhospitable to disease. So what I mean by that is that we kind of want to make things, the soil that we grow our health from or within, it's not hospitable to disease, and it is conducive to good growth and health and, healthy minds and bodies. Okay. And so the immune system is the brains of the operation. So this is what I talk about in the book. Chronic inflammation plays a starring role in the onset of discomfort, disease, and chronic illness. Each of our body systems has a job to do. So the brain and nervous system, the internal organs, the gastrointestinal tract, and the endocrine system. And if just one is malfunctioning or imbalanced in any way, the health of the whole person is compromised. There's a distinct connection between the brain and the body. And psychoneuroimmunology tells us that the brain and body have another partner, the immune system. So this is really, all that stuff is really important, and I dive right into the science, and we're going to be talking about that more in more episodes, but that's sort of like the basics of what's going on. And also, we must address mental and emotional health, ensure that we're detoxifying, and support the health of the microbiome, the virome, the mycobiome, which is like the existence of fungus in our environments, and the mitochondria. Without them, we can't run the show, and it's a big production. We also have to be aware that everything, and I mean everything, is energy. We need to expose ourselves to the fields and frequencies that'll give ourselves the right information and improve the communication of that information between our tens of trillions of cells. Okay, that's a lot of cells. We're whole, multi-layered beings made up of a thinking mind, a feeling spirit, and a body to house our thoughts and feelings. We now know that genes aren't our destiny, so we know this, and we're going to be unpacking that a lot more. That our genes are not our destiny, and that we largely control how healthy we are and how healthy we can become. Not our genes, not our medications, not our diagnoses. Us, right? We determine that. Okay, so let's take some time in this episode to discuss how your family can address all of that science. And it's going to be, like I said, we're going to go into the introduction of lifestyle medicine and our basic human needs. So although the science is complicated, and I think it's fascinating, I hope you do too, but if you don't, that's cool. I'm just going to give you the goods. How we can encourage the healthy expression of every one of the functions I outlined in what I just said just now, what I outlined just now. We don't have time to think or we don't have to think about being healthy at all if we're living in a way that addresses the fundamentals of life. So we actually don't really have to think about it if we live a certain way. Isn't that cool? Okay, so we get a diagnosis, or we go on a special diet or something like that. And that can take a lot of time and energy and effort. But if we actually live in these principles of, a healthy lifestyle, and we use lifestyle medicine, which really means, using your lifestyle as your medicine, right? I mean, it's just actually how it sounds. If we use lifestyle medicine, we don't actually really have to think about it all that much once we get to that state of, feeling pretty good most of the time, right? Feeling pretty good most of the time. So we don't have to follow any rules except to stop sabotaging or circumventing our natural bodily processes through unnatural ways of living, eating, and being. Okay, so I'm going to keep returning to this idea of living the way we're naturally built to live. I mean, that actually just makes so much sense if you just think about it. I mean, if you think about, we're supposed to eat this, or not, that's not really food. Or we need to move. I mean, that, movement is life, right? Inertia is essentially death, right? When we stop, we stop growing, thinking, experiencing, inertia is death. So those things just make sense. Being outside. I mean, if you think about and you tap into how you actually feel when you are living a healthier lifestyle, it's just obvious. We don't need any studies or scientific, validation to tell us that healthy living actually leads to health. So, okay. So first, let's talk about what we need. So these are our basic human needs. And I want to talk about what we actually need, and not what we want, desire, wish for, but that what we actually need to survive and thrive as healthy, happy human beings. Okay, so I have a short list. So, and this actually, I made an infographic of this short list because it's just, I mean, it seems simple, but to see it on paper and you go, yup, that's all I need to be a healthy, happy human being. All right, so first one I think is so critical is autonomy and responsibility for personal wellness. So first, we're autonomous, right? That we should have the right and the authority to actually make our own decisions based on what we deem to be important information for our own selves and families, and that it's our responsibility, right? Like this is actually our responsibility to take care of ourselves. Nobody else's responsibility but our own. And that's a really significant shift in thought. Next thing is healthy food and water. Okay, so that is, something critical. If we don't have enough fuel to run the car, it's not going anywhere. If we give it the wrong kind of fuel, it's going to break down in a gap you're not supposed to do. We need healthy food and water as a basic human need. And a way to make sure that we do that or have that is in the lifestyle tables. Family, do we take out, or do we actually live a lifestyle that revolves around the home kitchen, where we actually make nourishing food and maybe do that together still, rather than it being work until you're exhausted and come home and, order something because nobody has the energy to connect to each other and their food, at the end of the day. So that is a lifestyle shift that leads to that basic human need that we need, basic human need, of healthy food and water. Next, just seconds ago, movement and exercise. We'll talk a lot more about food and water, as well as movement and exercise, and in other sound bites that give some more details. But for now, I want to say that movement and exercise are different. So we move every day. We go chop wood. We climb a ladder. We walk the stairs. We tootle around. We move, and that's really important, and that's something that's essential to life and health. But as well as exercise, and that's a little bit more of a concerted effort to actually raise our blood oxygen levels, and get our lungs going and our hearts pumping and our brains turned on. our neurochemicals firing, like all of those things, and affecting our hormone levels. So we need movement and exercise to have a healthy body and mind. And what do is we adjust our lifestyles or live a lifestyle that is conducive to a lot of movement and exercise. We work it into our days if we need to, schedule exercise, and that's sometimes something that people find really useful to do, so they don't, forego doing that. And we make sure we move. You don't park as close as you can to everywhere you go. You walk places, you bike, make that part of your lifestyle. I was so amazed by a friend of mine who, I found this amazing because I'm a wimp in the winter. I live, in Canada, in central Canada, and we have some really great weather in the summer and the spring and fall. We get super hot, but in the winter it is bloody cold. And sometimes, colder than Siberia. One year it was, we hit some record lows so I'm not biking. I'm thinking no. But she biked every day to school. She worked it into her day. And that's just what she did. She made sure that she got up at a certain time so that there's enough time for her to bike to school or to work. Why do we keep saying school? Bike to work. And even in the winter, so she bought the right gear. She made sure she was warm. She had goggles, and she had the correct kind of bike. She worked her life around it, and made sure she had the tools and was prepared for actually making that happen. Doing that act in her life. I also knew a family when my kids were growing up and I still know them. They're older now as well as my kids, but. They biked everywhere. They didn't have a car. They didn't want a car. They actually built their lifestyle around health, and knowing that cars cost a lot of money, and they cost a lot of money to maintain. They give off a lot of emissions, and they wanted to make sure that they were healthy in mind and body and spirit. And they would even put their hockey equipment in a trailer and bike to play hockey, and then bike home. I was just like, wow, so I felt like we were doing a lot, but some people, they can just work stuff into their lifestyle. It wasn't a burden. It wasn't something that they had to do. It was something they wanted to do and worked into their life. So I don't know, I just thought that was maybe a little bit of inspiration for you, because I was always inspired by these people. And so, and we've done a ton of that, biking to the grocery store and putting all the groceries into the trailer, instead of, and then all the kids, some of the kids in the neighborhood would come with us. So, because it was just a fun thing, and we had so much fun. It just opened up our lives to just really wonderful practices and activities, and it's the stuff of life, to move and to exercise and to use your body. So sleep and rest. Okay, so that's the next basic human need. We all need sleep. We know this, and we're going to get into some of those, like the science and sleep problems and sleep, hygiene and all that stuff. We're going to talk about all that stuff in next episodes. But just as a primer, sleep is essential, and I think I've mentioned it before in one of the previous episodes as well, but essential to good health, and rest as well. And rest and sleep are different, right? So sleep, we're actually the act of sleeping. We are obviously resting when we're sleeping, but rest is another thing entirely. And that's something where we're just sort of like in neutral. We're awake, we're alert, we're, going about our day, but we can be doing things that are restful, that are filling our tanks, our need to just be and to think and to, reflect, tootle around, fart around, as some people say. We need that time to just take a rest, sit on the couch without having to read your books or your something that you need to do for work or school or just everyday life, paying bills, like aside from doing all that stuff. That kind of leads me to the next thing, is stress reduction, because if we live a really healthful life and we've managed our time well, and we haven't taken on jobs we don't want, and we haven't don't stress ourselves out with poor health that stems from all these other practices of eating junk food and not moving and not sleeping, if we're kind of trying to move away from that, we can have a less stressful life, right? Because those are all stressors. But in our modern life, we're going to have some kind of stress. And even if we were living like, people did in Neanderthal days, I mean, they had a lot of stressors. I mean, they had a lot of animals hunting them, and they didn't have a lot of shelter, and their mortality was much more eminent, or evident, I should say, to them. But now our stressors are different, but we definitely live in a very high stress inducing environment and culture. And actually stress is sort of like, I don't know, everybody says they're stressed. Everybody thinks it's normal. And I'm here to say that no, it's not really normal, and it doesn't need to be normal. It doesn't have to be our default, condition that we have to navigate. It actually is something we can work toward, I suppose, unraveling, moving past. And I don't want to say cope. I don't want to say deal with or handle, because that sort of just indicates that it's something that's constant, static, that we always have to, manage, I guess. But I think that, with stress, we can actually transform it. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Transform it into, something that we recognize, and we don't actually allow it to affect our health by, using stress reducing techniques, ways of thinking, ways of being, ways of operating in the world. But we're going to talk about stress a lot more. I can't wait to talk about that, give you some techniques and ideas, and also talk about how stress affects the brain and body, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to get into that stuff as well. Super important. Okay, so a couple more things I want to mention before we wrap up this little soundbite. And we need sunlight, darkness, and a healthy circadian rhythm. We are beings of light. We are just part of this natural world. We are highly affected by the natural world. When the sun is visible to us, when it's not, we're in a darkness. And how that the rhythms of the planets, of our solar system, of our lunar system, all of those things, how they affect, or of our seasons, how they affect our health, and very, very deeply so. So again, we're going to go deeper into that in another episode as well, but I want this on your radar: sunlight, darkness, and a healthy circadian rhythm. We need that. That's a basic human need. And again, lifestyle medicine, what's that, solution to, or not solution, the way to actually have a healthy circadian rhythm? Well, go to bed at night, get up in the morning. So easy, right? Well, maybe not so much when we've got, light pollution by way of city lights, streaming into your windows, when we've got the TV on, the electronics, all those blue lights, overhead lights on at night. We're not giving ourselves the chance to really work our bodies to work with the rhythms of nature, of sunlight and darkness. So again, we're going to talk about that a lot more in another episode. Clean air is the next one. Clean air and the ability to breathe that air. Okay, so we need clean air. There's a lot of urban areas where the air is not even remotely clean. And then we've got to use, it's not just lifestyle, but also, additional, maybe it's an air filter, so additional supports, I guess. So an air filter or an air purifier, they're different things, but you can have both. You might need something like that to help to clean your air, but also opening the windows, in your home. If you've got clean air outside and, it's a little stagnant, you want air moving, you want to get rid of some of that precipitation to avoid mold. You maybe have something that's in your office that off gases, on occasion when you use it, like a printer, things like that. We need clean air. We need to get rid of things in our air that actually are not clean. So like phthalate producing, air fresheners, things like that actually are carcinogenic, that kind of thing. So lifestyle really can lead to, producing or us enjoying, I guess that's a really good way to say it, us enjoying clean air. And we need the ability to breathe that air. So our breathing practices even, affect us. And so that's a basic human need. We need to be able to have clean air and the ability to breathe that air, okay? We need regular detoxification and elimination. That's a basic human need. We need to get rid of the garbage that our bodies are taxed with due to our environments, our food, and sometimes it's not always something that we encounter on purpose. Sometimes it is, but we always have control over some level of control over, getting rid of that, whatever we are encountering. So first, we want to get rid of the toxicants in our environment as best we can. And then we, work on regular detoxification. One of those things really is exercise, is nurturing and nourishing our organs of detoxification, or emunctory organs. And that's liver, kidney, the skin, the GI tract, and the lungs. Okay, so all of those things need to be kind of working in good condition. And, we need to eliminate. So there are so many ways that you can detoxify, but I'm going to give you one little lifestyle hack that involves the food we eat, is that there's a whole host of detoxifying foods that you can eat on a regular basis or throw in a juice. And so that might be something like cilantro, that might be something like chlorella, that might be something like spirulina, that could be something like... what was the other one I was wanted to mention? Oh, parsley is very good for actually also the kidneys. So we'll talk about that a lot more coming up. And then a loving and supportive tribe and community, things, that bring us together. That's a basic human need. And I remember just feeling like heartbroken reading about like studies done on children who are, kind of grew up in those really nasty orphanages, and the ones that kind of like the old school ones that you don't really hear about anymore, but I'm pretty sure they probably exist somewhere in the world still, but where those babies are not held enough and they don't develop properly, and sometimes even perish, or failure to thrive. And I feel that, we don't always die in our bodies, but we can in spirit. And I think that is an emotionally too, and shutting down, and could be trauma. And so that is a basic human need, is to have a loving and supportive tribe and community. And also, the next item is creativity, play, joy, adventure. I think that's a basic human need, is to, be a creative person in the world, and that gives us purpose, right? Because, then we kind of forego that existential angst we might have if we have no purpose, if we have no joy in play. What are we here to do then? Suffer, or just like watch TV, watch somebody else pretend to do it. This is the stuff of life. And then we of course need our shelter. Our planet, a place to call home, right? Shelter or planet and a place to call home. And so those are that's my list of basic human needs. And I think that I'll stop there because we've already hit the 20-minute mark, and I just had so much fun going through all of this for you. And we'll be unpacking all of those things a little bit at a time as we keep going through these sound bites. And I really hope that you enjoyed them, and knowing what our basic human needs are, and understanding that our lifestyle and adjusting things in our lives and making room for all of those things in our everyday existence really will make meeting those basic human needs so much easier, and not just easier, but much more enjoyable. All right, so to end this show, this podcast is sponsored by the Healthy Family Formula, which essentially means that we share our information for free. All we ask is that before you move on to the next 100 things on your to-do list for today, take what you learn, and instead of waiting until Monday, January 1st, or any other arbitrary date in the future, act on it now Buy that new food, start that new routine, shift into that healthier habit. The little steps steadily move you past the miles you leave behind you. For more information about anything related to family health, do pick up my book and check out our newsletter, blog, individual and group coaching programs, and practitioner training program at healthyfamilyformula.com. And you can also like our Facebook page, facebook.com/healthyfamilyformula. Thank you for listening, as it was a pleasure to spend this time with you today. May you and your family be well. Please note that Family Health Revolution podcast is not a source for diagnosis or medical treatment, but is the opinion of the host. This podcast is intended to empower people with information so they can make the best health decisions for themselves. It is up to each person to listen to their inner wisdom, consider the information they deem to be accurate and applicable to their individual situation, and consult with their trusted healthcare providers, if they so choose, when making any decisions regarding their own health or the health of their loved ones. Each person's health is their own responsibility.